Jim Harbaugh may go to the NFL. Maybe the Falcons, maybe the Chargers, who knows? And if he does, Michigan fans should be disappointed, should be let down and somewhat melancholy. Can't believe I finally got to use that word. But they shouldn't be angry. The reason isn't just because Jim finally overtaken Ohio State or that he's even won the whole thing. It's that he has prepared Michigan to be successful even after his departure. He's shown Wolverine Nation that they can be on top of that mountain again. They can beat their chest as a big dog. He's accumulated depth, and that depth understands the culture that brought Michigan to the mountaintop. The young guys learn from the old guys. He united everyone at Michigan through turbulent times that ultimately ended in triumph. And he's given the man that should replace him if he does leave, and Sharon Moore, the best on-the-job training you could possibly give someone. Now, he stood for what he believes in when times were bad and when they were good. Because it all starts with believing that you can do it. And he even took a pay cut when he wasn't fulfilling his end of the bargain. That is servant leadership. So whether he stays or goes, this is for certain. He didn't just flip the script, he wrote a new one. He didn't just win the present, he laid the groundwork for the future. And that is the best gift that any fan base can ask from their leader. Guy that knows a lot about Michigan football, David Cohn, former Michigan quarterback, my brother, former Western Colorado wide receiver Blaine Crane. And David, listen, second interview with the Chargers. You're hearing may go in with a second interview for the Falcons. We all know that second date hits different. Like now we're going to find out, hey, first one passed the test, want to hang out with you again, you want to hang out with me again. Like we go to the third date, we're together now. So
on the contract.
Yeah, we have a contract. But when you look at if we were to play the game of, all right, Harbaugh's going to leave, you've got to feel good in a time where we've seen what happened when Nick Saban leaves Alabama and the transfer portal rules and how teams are rated. Sharon Moore's got to be the next guy up, right? And if he is, that continuity, being able to keep that young core that watched these old guys, how they did it, for literally 2-3 years. I know the young guys have probably been there for a year or two, but you've got to feel better in a crazy changing landscape of college football, having that continuity and having that similar kind of mindset at the top. I mean, what else can you ask for if you're a Michigan fan?
No, you're exactly right. Look, I'd love if Jim Harbaugh would stick around in Ann Arbor for many years to come. But if he ultimately decides to return to the NFL, I think there are three main reasons. One, his prior success in the league. This isn't just some coach who wants to go try his hand in the NFL because it's always been a dream. He won there. I mean, think about it. The San Francisco 49ers won one playoff game in 13 years. Jim Harbaugh shows up. They go to 3 NFC championships and 1 Super Bowl in his first 3 seasons. Yeah. The second reason, the Chargers are a perfect landing spot to me. I mean, a young franchise quarterback, one of the most elite in the league, in his prime, who is under contract with key pieces around him. One of the best running backs in the league, Austin Eckler, your former teammate. You got a Bosa brother coming off the edge there, a ball hawk on the defensive side of the ball, and Derwin James. All these pieces. The Vikings a year ago would have been a good fit. I know he's entertaining, the Atlanta Falcons right now, possibly, but the Chargers are a perfect landing spot this cycle. And how often does that come up? And then the third thing to me is just what you hit on. Look, he's left Michigan better than he found them if he ultimately decides to leave. He'll never be more endeared by the fan base than right now. If he won 5 championships in a row, if he won 6 in 18 years the way Nick Saban did, this first one, getting back over that mountaintop, and the perfect season 15-0, and you follow that up with 3 straight wins over Ohio, 3 straight Big Ten championships. I just think that it's sort of the perfect encapsulation of everything he wanted to do when he came back to coach at his alma mater where he played quarterback for Bo Schembechler. And the succession plan is in place, like you talked about. You have to go with Sharon Moore. It's not like you're leaving your alma mater high and dry here so late in the hiring cycle. Sharon Moore will be the next guy up. He already has 6 wins and 1 over your biggest rival when he filled in for you this year. That combined with the fact that Jim Harbaugh clearly doesn't have any friends when it comes to the NCAA and his, these investigations year after year. I think that those would be the 3 reasons to me that would make sense to jump on this opportunity if Jim Harbaugh wants to return to the NFL.
Can I add a fourth? Can I add a fourth there? His brother beating him in the Super Bowl. I'm just telling you, man, deep down, I just feel like that's got to mean something. I mean, you got to win Thanksgiving again.
And he may win it this year.
He may win it. Yeah, he may win it this year. I mean, you got to win Christmas dinner. We got to win Easter, right? Like we just maybe if it's for a year, right? Because look, I don't know. John may win it this year with the Ravens, the way it's going.
Saying.
Yeah, like you said. But Blaine, to me, when I look at the Sherrone Moore taking over for Jim Harbaugh, and Jim Harbaugh hasn't left yet. He may be coming back, so Michigan fans, calm down.
Oh, he's gone. Guys, he's gone.
Gone forever.
Gone.
But doesn't Sherrone Moore taking over for Jim Harbaugh feel like what it would have been for Kirby Smart to take over for Nick Saban in Alabama? Wouldn't you say Moore is his protege? Not that Minter is, not that Mike McDonald wasn't, who's at the Ravens now, but Harbaugh's an offensive guy. He's a quarterback. Is Moore Harbaugh's Kirby Smart? And if it is, you got to feel good giving the keys to a guy who's already driven the car. I mean, on top of a mountain.
I mean, at this point, you can't feel better about giving the keys to anybody else. I mean, Sherrone Moore knows Michigan inside out. He knows these players. He knows he has the blueprint to run this program. Kind of like the same thing with Kirby and Nick. Jim gave him the blueprint. I think Jim is going to be the Chargers' next head coach. But I do worry about this. You have a great quarterback. You have great pieces. But the management for the Chargers has always been somewhat sketchy. Always not really willing to spend money on a head coach. We've seen that, and that's one thing I would worry about if I'm Jim Harbaugh. But when it comes to him staying at Michigan, there's no reason to. You've done everything. What else can you do for the University of Michigan? One, right now with all the NIL and transfer portal stuff, if you're a head coach, I wouldn't want to stay that long in college if I can go to the NFL. Two, you just won the Natty. Three, you've been kicking Ohio State's ass for years, and you have the prodigy son quarterback coming out of Michigan going to the NFL. If it's Jim Harbaugh, there's not a better time to leave. It's the Peyton Manning syndrome, all right? You go out on top.
Yeah, and we want to know what you think. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. We're going to open up the line for calls at 7:15 when we bring Andy Staples on. I'm going to try and get to that quickly. I do want to make 2 points. One, I'm not saying Michigan is just going to win the national championship every year from here on out. What I'm talking about is I feel like now that you've shown the young guys, now that you could hand it off to Moore, they've seen it. You've done it. I think they're going to be championship relevant. Not that Michigan hasn't, in every 2 to 3 years, 3 to 4 years, whatever. But it's one thing to get there and do it, and then be able to maintain it somewhat. So don't think this is a blanket. Michigan's just going to take over. They're going to dominate forever. It's all cyclical. Second thing, Urban Meyer beat Michigan 7 times in a row, David? Nobody blames Urban Meyer for Michigan overtaking Ohio State again. Who do they blame? Ryan Day. So if Jim Harbaugh were to go to the NFL and Ohio State were to win 2 or 3 in a row, they're not going to blame Jim Harbaugh, right? Not saying that would be the reason he wanted to scapegoat it to somebody else, but you kind of avoid all the negativity, like you're saying, to go out on top. So it does give you a little bit more of an incentive. It's going to be interesting to watch that second interview. I mean, at both places. I agree with you. The Chargers, I think, are a better fit. I don't think Harbaugh would take the job if they weren't going to pay him, but I think Jim Harbaugh is the type of guy, and I want to make sure I describe this without coming off as saying it's almost ignorant, but I feel like he's bullheaded enough where he feels like if you put him in a position and let him do his thing, that the periphery stuff doesn't matter. He'll be able to do it. Jim Harbaugh just seems like that type of guy.
Well, I think it's less about the money for him. This offer that I've been hearing is in the $15 to $18 million range, which makes sense because he has the same agent as Sean Payton's agent, I think that range was similar with
Jimmy Sexton's father?
Jimmy Sexton? Cousin at the very least. I think what you hit on is very big too. Like the Chargers organization, are we going to be a buttoned-up franchise who's going to wholeheartedly go after winning? I think that's why we haven't seen him be signed just yet for all the things he's asking for. I don't know the specifics of that, but probably to be on the committee that names the next general manager, or maybe Jim Harbaugh would just have player personnel control himself. I know that was the rift that ended up getting him out of San Francisco. That combined with all of the resources that you need, that he sees he would need to have success at the NFL.
Yeah, I'm not out here trying to street race in a Prius. If I'm going to hop in,
the Chargers are entertaining.
Yeah,
the Chargers are entertaining it if they're interviewing him a second time.
Do you worry about Cone? Do you worry about if Harbaugh does go to the Chargers? How much drop off? How many players do you see enter the portal? Because you kind of look at Alabama and Nick Saban leaving. This class is old, experience. They're gone.
Yeah. Well, I told Jake this the other day when you weren't with us, is that the ceiling for Sherrone Moore is probably not as high. How could you expect it to be as high with coming off the greatest season in the history of the program, right? So the ceiling may not be as high, but different than Alabama, where you have to go out right now because you don't have that succession plan. Kirby Smart left, and then Steve Sarkisian was the other half of that. Steve Sarkisian was the natural succession plan, where you didn't have that at Alabama. The next thing you can do is just just go hire the best coach possible. For Michigan to go and get someone like Brian Kelly, like we've been seeing those rumors for LSU, I don't think it makes any sense. Yes, the floor would still be really, really high. Brian Kelly would come in and do a great job, but you would change so much so quickly when the conference is changing and the college football playoff is changing. Yes, we're sending a lot of seniors who just came back to win this championship off to the NFL and off to their, professional working lives. But Sharon Moore being elevated after he already has 6 wins would keep so much cohesion.
That's the thing. It's cohesion and continuity. It's all circumstantial. You can't just throw it all into one bucket and say, well, when one guy leaves, it's just going to be a raid on the portal. It's different when you promote from within, and we already know the relationships. I mean, just watch a post-game interview with Coach Moore when he was having to be the interim guy when Harbaugh was suspended. Those players, which includes the young guys, love this man. They want to stay and play for this guy. Yes, you would be losing the head coach, but you would be uplifting a guy that was already in there, and you wouldn't lose nearly what you would lose by bringing in Brian Kelly, who's a great coach, but he would do it his way. It's a totally different operation with Brian Kelly than it is with Sharon Moore. Yes, it's going to be impossible for him to replace Harbaugh wholeheartedly, probably very quickly. I don't want to limit him, but I mean, let's be realistic when I'm talking about Sharon Moore. But you are doing the best thing you possibly can to combat the changing landscape of college football and all these new transfer portal rules by keeping it in-house.
And you have one of the toughest schedules in the country next year.
Yeah, it's an absolute nightmare. So you've got fantastic products. You want to help out the show? You love us? Really? Right? I'm going to keep it real with them, son.
Tried to kill my father, man.
Tried to kill my father, man. Go get one of our hoodies or one of those Lady Ballers candle, which to me smells absolutely perfect. All right, let's get to the Booster Club.
Booster Club, what is up, chat? Hit that like and subscribe button.
Do it now!
If you donate, I will read it if it's on topic. We're talking about college football and you put a cricket donation in there, I'm probably not going to get to it immediately.
Do it now or I'm going to choke Blaine out live on TV.
Look, I'll do it for the clicks. Let's go to Tim Cornet. Tim, what's up, brother? He wants to know, what do you make of the Chargers not letting their offensive coordinator interview with any other teams? Seems strange to me for a team looking for a new head ball coach.
Does seem odd.
Yeah, that does seem odd. It seems like in today's world, I don't know how the hell you'd get that worked in the contract if you can't interview at certain places. It is interesting to see. But look, the Chargers do this a different way. They really do. Like, we talk about the way that Green Bay does it a different way. The Chargers do it a different way.
I mean, is Kellen Moore in consideration if Jim Harbaugh turns this
shovel face?
Is that the next up?
I mean, look, dude. Kellen Moore's a coach. I like Kellen Moore.
I like Kellen Moore,
especially as a play caller, but I don't know if he's ready to take on that task. I think he's a little bit young to take on the Chargers. They need khakis and cleats in there. They need Goofy Jim in there. Goofy Jim wins.
Somebody needs to come in there and weird it up.
Yeah.
Right? You're in L.A., right? You just moved from San Diego. Where was Jim Harbaugh's first coaching job? University of San Diego. Knows the area. Yep. Can walk in there. He can be quirky. He can walk into a Billabong shop, with roller skates on or something. I like the fit. It just makes sense.
Go to Leroy Jose. He says, who does Harbaugh have a better chance of winning with? Right now, the Chargers or the Falcons. Someone give me a case for the Falcons.
I can't.
How would you give me a case?
Weaker division,
more better draft picks this year. All the quarterbacks coming out of the draft, you got to get a quarterback if you're Atlanta, correct?
Yeah.
I mean, think about that. You go and win the NFC South. You're getting home field advantage, like we just saw the Bucs get hosting the Eagles.
No, I mean, the division argument's probably the best one, and then obviously we'll see what happens with Justin Fields. Bijan Robinson's an absolute nightmare. I saw where they projected the Falcons to take Brock Bowers. Can you imagine Brock Bowers and Kyle Pitts? Somebody get him the ball.
Yeah.
Somebody just throw the ball up in the air.
Design some plays for
it. Like we could turn this into. You remember that game at recess? Did you ever play jackpot?
Yeah.
Right, everybody would stand. Like one person would have the ball. Right? And everybody would stand like 30 yards away and you throw it up and you call out how much it was. Like, hey, 300. Or you have to jump up and get it. That's what it'd turn into. With Kyle Pitts and Brock Bowers? Are you kidding? That'd be fun to watch. What's up, YouTube? Hey, do us a favor if you're stopping by. If you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and knock that out. We go live each weekday morning, 6:30 a.m. Central to 8 a.m. Central. If you can't catch us live, it stays on there forever, obviously. We appreciate your support. Grab some merch while you're at it.